Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is our weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. Mondays have become my favorite day of the week because, I don't know, I love what I do. I love pouring into the lives of coaches. These are the real world changers in the world right now. We're giving everybody a second to get in. We shot an email out just to remind some of you who wanted reminders. But here's what I want you to do. You're making it into the room. If you would, go ahead and pop some comments on there. Give us your name, where you're joining us from, what's one thing that you're excited about today so that we can connect with you. And also at the end of the day, we're going to have a couple of minutes, as much time as we have left, to be able to answer some questions as well. So go ahead. Some of you are making it into the room. Go ahead and pop some comments on there. Let me know where you're joining us from and one thing that you're excited about. And also, if you have specific questions while I'm talking, go ahead and pop those comments in there, and we're going to answer those directly, okay? So, with no further delay, let's go ahead and jump into today's content, okay? So, here's the thing that I want to say on the front end. On the front end, I want you to know this. It is not your job to be a motivational speaker or a motivational guru in someone's life. I think that's really important to understand that that's not the role of a coach. The role of a coach is more relational, and it's more focused on the getting solutions and holding people accountable. That's why we get paid the big bucks. So motivation isn't one of those things that it's like every time that I work with somebody, I've got to keep them motivated and I've got to do all of this stuff. I don't want you stressing because that's not your job. See, the reality is that, and there's Amber making it in. I want to say just hi really quickly. Just acknowledge Beverly from Madison, Indiana, excited to become a successful life coach making a difference in other people's lives. That is excellent. Marina, Canada, working on new ideas. That's cool. Charles is joining us from Pennsylvania. Welcome, Charles. Who else was in here? Did I say hi to Amber? Amber from Kansas. As for what I'm excited for today, not so much about this video, but I got my new book in today. Yes, very cool. All right, so sorry about that. Not shiny things, but I want to acknowledge people who are in the room and are commenting, okay? So like I was saying, it is not your job to be a motivational guru because here's the reality. People need to want something. If your clients don't want something, I don't know why they're your client, because they need to want something. People's lives don't make any sense if they don't have an ambition. And so we don't want to work with people who don't want anything. I'm not interested. Listen, I have better things to do than to try to push a turtle into something. I'd rather have somebody who is a lion and all over the place and wanting something. I can work with that. But somebody who needs to be motivated every week and encouraged and coddled and some of those things, I don't think that those are really good coaching clients, at least not the ones that I'm interested in working with. So motivation in what we're really talking about today, I'm going to show you 5 points, and we're going to go through them pretty quickly, or as quickly as I can, and then we'll have time for questions. But what I'm going to show you are really the big factors that affect motivation for people, because here's the reality. The first 90 days of working with a client are the most transformational of any time of the coaching relationship. It is normal about 90 days for motivation to wane a little bit because the first 90 days are really dramatic and they're really dynamic and there's all of this excitement and there's this new lease on life. And here's what happens is that about 90 days in, people start running into some of the things that have always self-sabotaged. The things that have always kept them from moving forward in their goals and shut them down. You're going to face some of those things. And when you face some of those things, it's going to affect motivation because up to now, it's been all exciting and they're just kind of like running really hard. And now we're running up against who they have always been in terms of how they've addressed their problems, how they've gone after things in the past. This is usually when they quit. And this is why we've got to be able to step up to the plate alongside them, support them, and to keep them motivated. Okay? So, motivation number 1, I'll go ahead and light this up so that you guys actually have some slides here, okay? The first thing is that big goals are more motivational than small goals. And for some of you who are already in our Life Coach certification course, you've already learned that. Some of you who are in the Life Coach training course, you've learned that as well. Big goals are more motivational than small goals. I know a lot of times we think, oh, if it's just a small goal, it'll be easier for people to accomplish. It's not true. In all of the studies, small goals actually get put off. They don't bring people to life. I mean, think about it. What kinds of things for you keep you up at night? It's not the small things, right? The small things don't keep you up at night. Big things keep you up at night. What are the first things that you think about? You think about when you wake up in the morning. Are they small things or are they big things? Hopefully they're big things and the small things aren't taking over your life. But for the reality is that big things motivate us. We don't want our clients going after small things. We want them to be motivated. Why is this so important? Well, here's the thing. This is a pretty terrible diagram, isn't it? What are the things that get, and this is adrenaline, okay? What are the things that get your adrenaline pumping, blood flowing, stuff going to your brain? This is such an unfortunate hairdo on this person. But what are the things that get adrenaline pumping? Not small things. We need things that engage people's minds. We want them to engage their heart. We want them to even physically engage them, that they can feel the goal that they are going after. These are important factors of keeping people motivated, and big things do that. Little things don't. Listen, if it doesn't move them, they don't have they don't want to go after it. They'll stop. Here's the thing, is that I don't want to, when we talk about this, when we talk about big goals, we're not talking about things that are not attainable. We do want attainable goals, okay? This is really, really important. We're not saying not attainable. What we are saying, because this is important, you need to make sure that the goals that your clients are going after are attainable. How do we know? How do we know if they're attainable? Well, we're processing all of these things out. One of the things that you learn in our life coach certification course is we talk about SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, all of those things in SMART. We want to make sure that every goal is like that. There are some goals that people try to go after in their life that aren't really attainable. Like, I want to make amends with this person in my life. I want to I want to make amends with my estranged father or something like that. That's not really something that they can execute on, because it's not just up to them. It's up to that other person. So we do need to make sure that everything that people are going after really is realistic and attainable. If somebody came to you and said, I want to make a $1 million business in 3 months, probably not attainable. Okay? So there's these things, it's a big goal, but we need to make sure that we are going after things that are attainable. But at the same time that we're talking about things that are attainable, we want to make sure that people are setting a higher bar. If they're not setting a high bar, if it's a low bar, it's not going to motivate them. And here's the other thing. They're paying you the big bucks, right? They are paying you big money. Life Coach Training Institute students who go through our Jumpstart program are making, first-year students are making between $250 to $1,000 per session. The industry average is about $125 per hour for a first-year coach. Ours are doing that. If they are going to pay these big bucks on you, you better make it something that they really want. That's the only reason why somebody would be motivated to spend a lot of money, is if they're going after something that's worth the money. Okay? Now, let me go to this, point number 2. Okay? Ready for point number 2? I am. Mix in some short-term goals. Now, why are short-term goals important? Why would I tell you go after big goals, and now we're going to talk about going after short-term goals? Well, here is the reason why. You see this beauty right here? This is the heart. The key to keeping a heart motivated is success. Okay? Now, here's the thing, is that when you have a big goal, like for me, a lot of the people that I coached in the past were CEOs, executives. They were doing big things, prototypes, new kinds of companies. Now, sometimes there's certain businesses, like I'll use coaching as an example. Setting up a coaching practice is not the hardest thing in the world to do. Matter of fact, we have a Jumpstart program. We help people get up and going in 90 days. It's not rocket science. There's a real linear. Here's the steps that you walk through, and we show you that. We give you the A to Z on how to do that. But there are some businesses that are a little more complicated because they need brick and mortar. They need a brick and mortar place. They need licenses. They need a lot of insurance kinds of things. They need approvals and a lot of other kinds of things. And here's what happens: that sometimes with big goals, and you can see these little calendars here. We're talking about, man, I am Xing off days. Things happen. Sometimes monkey wrenches get thrown in the situation. And when you are going after a big goal like this, we are also missing a big payoff. And if the payoff for someone is not going to come until the end of that goal, then their heart's going to suffer. The heart's really going to wane if they are not able to feel success. So here's the thing: is that we need we need small goals. We need some short-term goals so that they will feel some success. And as they're not just checking off days until they get to their end game of their big goal, they can actually see that some things are being accomplished as they go along. Okay? Now, I'm about to get off point, and I'm going to try to get myself back on point, okay? All right, so here's the thing. What is your job to keep them motivated? It's this. Celebrate the small successes. I hope I spelled that right. This is what you've got to do as a coach to keep them motivated. When we are setting small goals, it allows us the opportunity to celebrate success as we are going along. Now, here's the other thing, is that we don't just need to celebrate small success. And in a lot of cases, we need to redefine success for our clients so that they can feel it. When you celebrate it, you acknowledge it. Now my heart is engaged. My heart can endure. My heart can't endure because with a long-term goal, because in a lot of cases, I'm like, man, is this ever going to get here? I feel like there just keeps being monkey wrenches and disappointments and things like that. And sometimes these things happen. Sometimes, because here's the reality, is if these were easy goals, people would have accomplished it by themselves without you. But sometimes it can wear on a client's heart. And so we've got to celebrate the small successes along the way. It's really important to keep that in front of your clients at all times. Now, here's the next thing. We're going to skip ahead. 3 is this. Number 3 is that you need to do your homework on your clients. And I'm a really, really big proponent. I actually tell our coaches this a lot, that you really need to do your homework on them. And what do I mean by do your homework? What I mean is, a lot of times coaches, and if you go to any coach training school, they talk about intake. We talk about intake. And really what we're talking about is getting to know this client, really engaging with them and helping them get really dialed in and understand what their goals are. What do they really want? The reality is, though, is that most intake is not really strategic. And when I do intake, I'm thinking very strategically about the kinds of questions that I'm asking. These are some of the questions that I throw in my intake form. What kinds of people motivate you? I actually ask this question. What kinds of people motivate you? What kinds of people demotivate you? Why do I say this? Because you know what I'm going to do as a coach? I'm going to make sure I don't do this, right? I'm not going to be that kind of person. And I need to know what kinds of people motivate you. What are the qualities of those people? What kinds of things or situations bring you to life? Because people know these. They've never been asked these questions, because here's the reality: is you work in a business, probably you work for someone. If you haven't already started your coaching practice, has anybody asked you these questions before? Probably not, because they don't care. No one took the time. But I guarantee you, if you sat down with one of your clients and you ask these questions on the front end, what am I getting an understanding of? I'm getting an understanding of what motivates, what facilitates. What we're talking about really is this. If I want success for this person, I'm talking about what's the environment that I need to create around them to keep them motivated, to keep them engaged. So my intake should be strategic. What are the kinds of things that bring you to life? We need to make sure that they are setting goals and they are in environments where they can thrive. And how do I know? I ask the right questions and then I create that environment around them. One of the tools that, and there's a lot of tools out there, if you're not really good at coming up with these questions, but I think anybody could come up with them. One of the tools that they have, that came out some years ago, and it's a faith-based tool for the most part, is called the 5 Love Languages. And just to give you some tools that people use, some people are motivated by words. Those are the things that kind of give them life. It conveys meaning to them. It conveys love. Some people are gifts kinds of people. They don't really need your words. They need gifts. They need you to show. Sometimes it's just presence. Sometimes it's actually for some people physical touch. We're not going to do that, but we can think about appropriate physical touch like, let me shake this person's hand. Let me give them a high five or whatever is appropriate, because what I want to do is I want to support them and I want to communicate that they are on point. Now, here's the other thing is that I use this tool at StrengthsFinder. You can actually get any of your clients to take the StrengthsFinder, and what it does is it gives you a real understanding of who this person is. It's not just a simple personality type kind of thing. It gives you some real tools on how do you motivate and how do you support this person based on their wiring. And again, that if they take that thing, it's only like $20, but I use it actually as a filter because there is a certain profile of people that I know that I will work the best with, and so I always choose that. Now, what's the 4th thing? The 4th thing is this. Oh, help if I actually lit it up. Encourage, affirm, encourage, and repeat often. You notice that I said encourage twice in there? That's not a typo, okay? Now, one of my mentors told me, no one ever died from encouragement, and they didn't. It's important for you to understand that not all growth is goal-based. Remember when I mentioned a while ago that we need to really redefine success for our clients. Not all growth is goal-based. And what do I really mean by that? I want to make sure that I'm not covering anything on there, okay? What I mean by that is that one of the greatest motivators for people, one of the greatest motivators to keep people engaged is just simple progress. And what I mean by that is that I mean that I am improving. Now, there's a great book by Michael Pink where he unpacks some of these things. So I want to give props to him because they inspired some of these ideas. So here's the thing, is that people need to know that they are growing, they are improving, and they need to know that they are developing. Why do most of you hate your jobs? What is 85% of people hate their jobs right now? They don't really feel like there is really any progress that's going on in them. See, autonomy is one of these keys that keeps people alive and motivated. That should come in the coaching process anyway, because you're giving them permission and they're going after this thing. But the thing is that we have got to make sure that our clients know that they're making progress, that they're growing. Now, here's the thing, is that what I'm saying is that not all growth is goal-based, because there's sometimes that you can look at things and they checked off something that they did. It was an action item, and it's very easy to affirm and say, good job on that. But what about the people who are, who feel like, I'm not getting the success that I wanted to? What if they're just vulnerable? Can I commend someone for being more vulnerable in the relationship than they were when we began? Can I commend someone who is acting less fearfully 3-6 months down the road than they are right now? See, sometimes when you get into these points where it's a little bit hard, you're not feeling the dynamic change, and we're like 6 or 9 months down the road. There's some of those times that I would notice, and I want to highlight because I'm always paying attention. When I take notes with a client, that whole journal is dedicated to them. And and sometimes things will happen, and I'll flip back and I'll say, hey, you know what? I can go back to this date back in March, and I want to commend you on something. You are not the same person you were in March. You're a much bolder person. And I want them to feel that success. I want them to feel like, hey, I'm growing, I'm improving, and I'm developing. And they're not going to notice it on their own. People are terrible critics. And here's what I would hope. I'd hope that for everybody who's listening to me, that you're not the same person you were 5 years ago. You're not the same person you were a year ago. You're not the same person that you were 6 months ago. Because we're constantly growing. And some of you maybe feel like you did. And some of you maybe feel like you didn't. Except that if I sat down with you and I looked at what kinds of decisions you were making a year ago compared to now, there's probably some things in your life that you're making bolder decisions in, that you're changing on. Well, again, because we're our worst critic, a lot of times we're not going to notice these things and they're never going to be acknowledged. Let me jump to number 5 and we're going to finish this thing up strong, okay? Number 5 is this, okay? We have got to help people connect their goals with a larger purpose. I like what we talk about this, and if you've done any kind of coach training, a lot of times people will say you never ask a why question because it's judgmental. And if you're asking why as you're coaching people, it can be judgmental depending on what the subject of why. I'm not saying, why did you do that? It's not a judgment. What I want to do is we've got to get to why. Why? What is the heart connection? What is the end goal? What is the end game of everything that we are going after? Because somebody needs to have a really big why. Because I think people are questioning that. Why am I going to a job every day that I hate? Why do I I want something new, but I keep choosing what's safe. I hate status quo, but I keep choosing mediocrity and status quo every day. We've got to get down to the why, because there's a reason why people are choosing what they choose. There's got to be an end game. And for some of us, it means, I'm just trying to be responsible. I'm trying to keep things stable. That is what their why is. People need to know what there is. And if people don't have a bigger why, if they don't have a big target, if they don't know what they're going after, it's easy to lose heart if you don't have a target. And it's got to be bigger. I'm not saying that making money is bad. It's got to be bigger than making money. It's got to be bigger than just losing weight. Is there a bigger target that we're after? Maybe it's longevity. Maybe it's I want to be able to run around and see my kids longer. I've got to think about everything that I am doing, and every goal needs to be tied to something, a greater why, a greater purpose. And the more that we can connect people, and listen, what I'm saying is this is scientific. This is already what the research tells us, that we need to help people connect it to a why. Because there are some days that you get frustrated and you get disappointed in going after your thing. And I know some of you have felt that very thing in your own life. I felt it in mine. And what has to recalibrate our heart is the why. What is due north? Why am I doing this? What am I really going after? And this can keep me going sometimes when my heart's faltering. Sometimes when I'm lacking the endurance, I have to be reminded, what other option is there? There is no other option except this thing that I have been made for and the thing that I'm here on the planet to do. And it can recalibrate and it can bring me back to life and it can help me stay on point. All of this that I'm showing you today, why is it important for you to know these things, to do the homework on your clients and all of these other things? Because this is the key to retaining clients. People who don't finish well, in most cases, the problem is not your skills as a coach. There is something inherent in the relationship that is off. And if we do these things, you're not going to have any problem getting paid the big bucks, and you're going to see people get the success that they want and the success that they deserve. Now, let me finish up with this so that we can pay the bills, and then I'm going to answer some questions, because it's important for us to pay the bills, right? Some of you have been flirting with coaching for I don't know how long. How many times are you going to read a blog, watch a video, somebody tell you you need to be a coach, and you're going to flirt around with this thing and not move forward? the bar's set really, really low in life. We don't really do a whole lot of things that are uncomfortable, and we wonder why we have such mediocre lives that we really don't want. And so what we did as coaches, I was one of those coaches that spent thousands of dollars for my life coach training years ago. And when I graduated, they didn't give me any notion on how I'm supposed to get a client. I want you to know my story. We had chronic illness that was running rampant in our family. We had 2 small kids. I had about a 450 credit score. I'm not making these things up. That really was life. And I needed to hold on to some stability. But I also needed to create margins in our life because we were barely getting by. And I'll be quite frank with you. We did the food bank thing. We did all of that kind of stuff. So it's really important for you to know that we were about at the lowest point that we could possibly be. And so there was a lot of feelings like I could lose everything that I have, except that I knew that I needed to do something different. And my family was going to be number one priority. So it meant that I wasn't going to work 70 hours a week. I went and got trained and certified, and here I've spent all this money. They didn't even tell me how to get a client. And that's the nature of most programs, is they kind of work like educational institutions do, which is to give you a good housekeeping seal and wave at you from the door. And what we decided is that we weren't going to be those people, because I was. 98% of our students work full-time, are in transition in your career. Listen, for those of you who already lost your job, or your job's not working out very well, here's the reality, is that you don't have anything to lose then. You have no more excuses. Let's just go do this thing. So what we did, and I'll light this back up for you, is we took all of our training. We used to do live training. It is really expensive to do live training. That's why it usually costs thousands of dollars. When we started out our program, we were doing live training. Costs a lot of money. It does. To rent places, materials, having a live trainer, because I do. I charge thousands of dollars a day when I go and work somewhere. I'm not ashamed of that. But the reality is that there's a lot of people who are trying to break into coaching that this isn't feasible. Taking off from work is not feasible. So we took all of our training, we recorded it, we put it online, on demand, no start dates, no end dates, self-paced. So you can enroll today for $195. That covers everything. Your training, your certification exam. You also get social media integration. That's a $600 value. You go through 10 modules that have competency exercises at the end of each one of them. And when you pass the exam with a score of above 70%, you've earned your credential. We know what the value of our program is, and it does value in the thousands, because we have ongoing social media integration, and we're always pouring into our students. We know we have something really valuable, but we've rolled all of those savings onto you. For only $195, you can get trained and certified. But if you need the business development help, and this has been inspiring for you or helpful for you, we have a business Jumpstart program. Now, it includes a life coach certification course. So you'd either do an either or. You'd either choose life coach certification course by itself, or choose Jumpstart. Jumpstart's a 20-module business development roadmap, and we show you the A to Z on how to develop your business. We show you how to attract clients, how to discover your target market, how to discover your niche, how to do a 1-minute pitch. If you went to a networking group today, we show you how to do a 1-minute pitch. We also do a weekly group call. This gives you kind of a taste of what it's like to connect with me, but on the group calls, you're bringing the questions and you're bringing the topic. A lot of times we're doing what we would call, it's a case scenario. It's like a real case scenario that you're going through, and we walk through that. You get feedback on anything that you want to submit to us. There's an online community where you can get support, role play. We pay for the expensive ones. Why do these things fall? I don't understand that. How do we do that? So here's the thing, is that everything is comprehensive. You know why? Because I was that coach. We were you. We understand what the gap is between you starting your career. It is not a how-to gap for most of you. It is a fear gap that you guys need to just cross the chicken line. You know what $97 a month is? It sounds like a lot of money. Here's what $97 a month is. Because some of you are big Starbucks drinkers or coffee drinkers. A coffee is $3.25 at minimum. If you don't tip anybody, you don't buy anything else, and you buy the cheap coffee, whatever the drip is. That's $97 a month. That's $3.25 a day. This is not some big, you're already spending the money. The reality is that your coffee right now is not changing your life. as much as we would like to think. What we've got to do is actually, we have the money. We just need to make a commitment. And I'm challenging you to make that commitment. Enough of this being afraid. I've got one life to live. I better figure out what I'm here on the planet to do. And I need to be about doing it. Now, let me look at any questions that you guys have. It's enough little selling for you guys. What questions do you guys have that I didn't cover? And we've got a few minutes. I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability. Here's a question that was just asked. Danielle says the training is delivered in videos rather than just reading material. That is correct. Our training is all on video, but it's also transcribed. So if you're a person who likes to read, you want to print things, you want to take notes or whatever, you're able to do those things. Also, when you go through the modules, there are activities at the end of each one of those modules for you to put those competencies in action. So you need to, in many cases, people are printing those because they're going and coaching people and working through those, because those are actual activities. You're not just reading those. So we've made those print friendly, and then that way you can go and work with clients through those exercises. Let's see, who else do I need to say hi to? Wahid. Hello, Wahid. Thanks for joining us from Virginia. Deidre from Florida. Hey, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. Barbara's from New Jersey. Thanks so much, Barbara, for popping in. Brian, Minister Brian from Columbus, Georgia. Thanks so much. There's so many people who are in the ministry that are breaking into coaching, and I'm so excited about it because it's a really powerful tool. Who else do I see in here? Anissa from Houston. Thanks so much for joining us. Augustine from Uganda. Yeah. And for those of you who are wondering, 20% of our students are actually outside the United States. We're an internationally recognized program and the largest life coach training program in North America. So, appreciate that so much. Look at this. Romeo's from Lebanon. Yes. Way to go. I have no idea what time of the day it is over there. Probably late at night, but I appreciate you joining us. Charles says, thanks for having me. Thank you so much. All right. Any questions before we head out? Okay. Chisa says, if a client is motivated until halfway through the process and wants to quit, how do you professionally end that relationship? Well, here's the reality. And what I want you guys all to do, if you didn't catch the videos from the last 2 weeks, I want you to go back in time and I want you to watch those videos. Because if someone's all of a sudden halfway through the process wanting to quit, that is not likely if people are having success and that everything is healthy in the coaching relationship. So I'm going to ask you to go back in time over the last 2 weeks where I'm talking specifically about retaining clients, because this is part. So we're kind of like in week 3 of this thing. We're not calling it retaining clients every week, but the first week was specifically how to retain clients. Last week was how to win the hearts of clients. But what I really believe is that if somebody's wanting to quit halfway through the process, then there is something inherently wrong in the relationship. I don't think that that's normal at all. If somebody wants to quit and they're halfway through, then I do believe that sometimes things can happen where they have a major financial thing that happens. They lose their job. They get divorced. Someone gets ill. There's a number of things like that someone doesn't have control of in their life. And now they've got to adjust in their life right now because other things came up to the surface and they became higher priorities. But if somebody wants to quit halfway through, then what this is telling me is that there's something that we didn't notice. There's the red flags way before we get halfway through the process that we are missing. And if a coach is missing the red flags, then, there's nothing that I can do. Like if you've missed the red flags and we're halfway through the process, if anybody ever wanted to quit, I'm going to allow them to terminate the coaching relationship. I want to make sure that they have, as much as I'm able to do on my end, that everything is healthy in the relationship for that break. Okay. But the reality is that anything that is coming up, this can't just come out of the blue. These things don't just happen out of the blue that this person's like, well, I've just decided that I'm going to end this coaching relationship with you or whatever. It doesn't happen. So where do we look? Well, we've got to look at Were we listening along the way? Did they feel like why are we talking about these steps? Are they getting the small goals? Do they feel like they're having success? Do they feel like they're really being heard? Do they feel like they are being supported? We should be getting feedback regularly to make sure that they're getting the support that they want and that they are happy and feel like they're achieving their goals. If they do not feel like that paper fell, they don't feel like they are improving and they don't feel like they are moving forward, then we should know that along the way. I should be asking those questions. Do you feel like you're improving? Do you feel like that you're getting everything out of it that you can? How can I adjust what I am doing to support you? And is there a professional way to do this? Well, I think that's the professional way to terminate a relationship, is I've had feedback with them all along the way. This should never be a surprise if somebody terminates a coaching relationship with us, because we're having the conversation along the way. And I would be the person, if I didn't feel like they were getting the change, that they were not really making steps towards what they really wanted, I'd be the first person in that relationship that said, hey, I don't think that you're getting what you could be getting out of this relationship, or I feel like another coach could really support you better. I would be the first person to volunteer that. But all along the way, we are making adjustments because because the client is changing. Their needs change. So if feedback's happening every week, not that I'm giving someone a feedback form every week, but if feedback's happening every week, I can adjust, and this will never happen. This will never pop in and happen in my life, And the other thing is that you never have to worry about a relationship terminating and it not be done professionally if we are keeping the relationship healthy. And if there's an elephant in the room, like if I feel like there's tension with someone, I'm going to call that thing out. I'm not going to allow it just to I'm just going to pretend like I didn't notice that there's tension or something like that. I'm going to be the adult in the relationship and I'm going to confront it and leave everything out on the table. That way, we always end things professionally, because how we end things professionally? Because we always know where we stand with one another. And that's how you prevent those things. So your best bet is prevention. But if somebody wants to end a relationship with me with anything, I'm like, hey, how can we make this the best, the best ending of a relationship that we possibly can? How can I serve you moving forward? How can we do this going out? And those kinds of things. And I think that that's how we do it. All right. Okay. Romeo says, in Lebanon, coaching is not something that's well established. So getting clients without having an office to welcome them in is not easy. If any hints for places or situations like this, kindly share it. But first question above is more important to answer. Okay. Well, here's the thing, Romeo. I don't think that you need a location. Honestly, for me, what I ended up doing when I first started my coaching practice, I was broke. I wouldn't have had any money to pay for a place anyway. I met people in cafes, coffee shops. One of my first clients was in a coffee shop right around the corner from my house. It was in walking distance. That's how I coached people. And then along the way, I also recognized that it didn't behoove me to actually have an office, because in San Diego, we have 3.5 million people. People can't even get to you within 20, 30 minutes in most cases. So it would either be I would go to where they were, or we would meet in a halfway point or something like that. So what I ended up doing is I got a business club membership, and what I got was access to a lot of professionals who are in the area. And this is one of the things that all of you can do. Find out where people already are. If there's co-working spaces or some of those kinds of things, you can go and get a membership in those places. You have access to a lot of people who can help you build your business, and you can meet clients there. Just find comfortable places. The biggest thing about meeting with clients is you've got to find a place where both you and the client feel extraordinarily comfortable. As long as you can be real there. And here's the thing, is that every now and then I'd have some clients that they were starting companies and they had proprietary kinds of things that they were working on, and we needed a little more privacy. But in most cases, coaching doesn't require the kinds of confidentiality that therapy and counseling does. So you really can coach people anywhere. You can coach them in a park if you wanted to do that, as long as you're comfortable in your skin there and the client feels comfortable and it's not a lot of noise and distraction around where you are. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me see if I have... Charles says, do you have coaches that deal with recovery? We do have some coaches that have gone on to become recovery coaches. Here's what I'll say about that. It is really, really, really important for all of you to not go after clients who are actively dealing with trauma. Those people need to get healing. So, one of the coaches I can think of that is one of our grads, works in tandem with a counseling team. So those people are getting the counseling and therapy that they need because they need to get to healing. And now he's taking them to move forward towards goals because they can't stay where they are. They have to start moving forward. Some people who have dealt with major trauma in their life do not need to be making decisions, big decisions towards the future in their life until they get to healing. And so I'm very careful. We have some coaches that have done that route, but you've just got to be really careful. And here's what I would say for all of you. There are enough people on the planet that are at a high enough degree of wholeness. No one has all their ducks in a row. Everybody has trauma at some level in their life. What we're talking about is that people are whole enough to be able to make great decisions, bold decisions, forward-thinking kinds of decisions, and the hurt not hold them back. They're able to process forgiveness. They're able to process whatever they need to. They're in a whole place. And that's about 90% of the population. 85-90% of the population can do that. So for those of you who are thinking about stuff, don't ever try to coach victims of something. If someone's a victim, that's an identity. I can't coach someone who's a victim. What I'm doing is I am coaching powerful people, and I want to give them permission. Maybe they haven't gotten permission yet, but that's what I'm trying to do in their life. So just be really careful about that. It's just, there are some coaches who are going after that, and I think that you open yourself up to dealing with things that you don't have the training for. And I don't want to open the doors of liability. Let's say that someone was suicidal, but I'm going to try to coach them, but I've never been trained as a clinical psychologist or any of those other things. I'm opening myself up to liability. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay. All right. I think that is everything. It's all that we have time for. We went in a little bit of overtime. Listen, here's what I want you to do. I want you to like and share this video, comment on it. That would be great. But what I really want you to do is to quit flirting with this idea of coaching and get started. Hey, even if it's not us today, go sign up for a program. If you've been looking at this thing for more, if you've looked at coaching and considered doing coaching and you've looked at it more than 3 times, you are not analyzing things anymore. Except you can say this is the paralysis of analysis. What you are doing is you are procrastinating. Glorified procrastination is really what it is. Let's actually call it for what it is. And if you have to go sign up for another program, I don't care. Just go do your thing. If you want to go sign up for another program and come back to us for the business development help, go do that. But you make one bold decision today towards this career and quit messing around. I mean, what are you waiting for? Seriously, $195 is not going to hurt anybody's pocketbook. It's not going to keep you from feeding your family or anything else, right? So you can get trained online. I saw that question about how does the training, it's all of the modules are on video. It's on demand. It's self-paced. And so you work through all 10 modules on your own time. That means that we don't have start and end dates or schedules. You go through it. And when you pass your exam, that's where you earn your credential. Jumpstart includes the Life Coach Certification course. So if you want to go that route, don't choose the $195 program. Do the $97 a month. There's a 3-month minimum commitment. You get trained and certified. You get a 20-module business development roadmap. You get the A to Z on how to develop your coaching practice. Every Wednesday, we have a live call where I answer every coaching-related question, every business-related question during that time. We record those calls. You already have access to about 3 years' worth of these calls when you start out. You can role play with other coaches. You can get feedback on what you're working on. It's an incredibly comprehensive program that's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. You can cancel after 3 months or stick around. We would love to join you. Hey, our website, you can see the link in the description of this video to get more information about that program, and you can enroll today and get started. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. I love Mentor Monday. Love to hear from you. If you've got any more comments or any of those other things, go ahead and put them on there. Message us, whatever. We're a phone call away. We're an email away or whatever. Hey, have a great rest of your week and take care.